Hi everybody, let's do another Stamp Club video. I'm just realizing I'm going to have to grab my Misty. I think I've collected everything else. This one, for April, we're going to use the same stamps as last time, Gina K's Time to Celebrate. This time we are adding in the dies for that set. That doesn't include this one, but these match up. And we are also bringing in a stencil that we're going to use again in May, and a couple other fun things. So Gina K, you might remember, is big on foil. So to match this stamp set, there is something called Foil Mates. And I've brought in this happy birthday banner this time. So these are printed the same size as the stamps and the dies, and they're printed with toner onto cardstock. That means we can run them through a laminator and apply foil. So normally we would do these in class, but we're going to see if we're going to have a class or whether you'll be doing these in a kit at home. So what I'm going to do is just show you what I'm going to do is, oh, that's kind of a ratty looking piece of foil. I have foil here in my file called Foil Scraps, and I'm just going to find a piece that's going to fit. These look much better. And it goes pretty side up and just lays over top. And what happens when we put this through the laminator, toner is basically tiny, tiny, tiny molecules of plastic, and they are going to melt and glue that foil onto the piece of paper. So what is in my little thing here is just a piece of cardstock for some support, and I'm just using printer paper. I could also use parchment. I could probably use the Mink carrier sheet, but I'm just going to put it through my Mink machine or laminator like this. I've got it heated up. So while that is feeding through, I'll show you the cards, and then I will fetch the Misty. So these are the 3 cards we're going to do this time. Of course, you'll have seen your instructions with your kit. And just hang on for a sec. I've retrieved my Misty. And our banner hasn't quite come out, but this is how it's going to look when it's done. And I'll have the before and after in just a second. So the other thing we're going to use is a masking stencil. Let me just see where I have hidden that. See, I thought I was getting good at this, getting all prepared. I cut all the papers, collected all the stuff. So let me just grab that. I must have it here because I have the other shapes. We're going to be using a stencil that Marilyn cut for us. You'll be getting that in your class kit. It's like rays. The other one must be here. Where have I tucked it? Somewhere safe. Somewhere very safe, I'm sure. Just have to open my eyes. I'm going to pause you while I find it. And I'm back. This is the masking stencil we're going to use with the circles. This is from Tailored Expressions, and I'll explain that when we're going to use it. So the good news is the banner has also gone through the laminator. So here it is. And then you get to have this great moment when you peel the foil, and it's all pretty. So the foils come in all different colors. You can get the Gina K brand or the Deco foil. We're able to order in all different colors. So you could make this turquoise, silver, gold, pink, whatever. I went with a metallic. So this one is gold. And here's what it looked like before. So you can also stamp these because we have a stamp. So if you didn't want to do the foiling, you just stamp it in a color that matches your project. Okay? So I'm going to put that aside. And I think we will actually do that card first. And that is this one here. So I had designed it with a diagonal stencil because I didn't have these stencils at home, but we are going to do it with this stencil that we have available for class. And I will show you how these mask stencils work. I think they're a great concept. You're going to find in your package the papers that are just like a plain white panel and a black panel, like this. And on your work surface, you want something that can get inky. Sorry, that's our phone, and hopefully someone will answer it and figure out that I'm not available. So you're just going to stick this down to your surface. Now these stencils are very well thought out. There are 2 in the package, and you get not just the stencil with the hole, you also get the mask inside. I use the one with the small hole, and you'll see if you look carefully there are etched lines here. So I'm going to line that up.
Yes, we do.
And with a regular 4 by 5 1/4, I could fit it right inside the lines. You'll have to just line it up evenly inside. And I'm not going to stick this down heavily. I do have a little bit of pixie spray on here. If you don't have pixie spray, which looks like this, we have it on its way. I'm not sure when it will arrive though. You can stick this down with some temporary adhesive, and I think I will just add some of this to make sure that it's going to stay where I want it. Okay. And this way I know that my mask, that I want to keep a clean area, is going to be protected, and that it's going to be right in the spot where I want it. So that's going to keep this white. So then I can take away this outer part. So that's the genius there. Then I'm going to take the other stencil, excuse me, this one, and it also has some stickiness on it. If it needs a little more sticky, hopefully you have a gentle adhesive of some kind. Just lay it on there like so. And for this I use the Peacock Feathers Oxide. And you can apply this with a foam tool or a brush or whatever you like. You just need to be careful that you're not scrubbing across these rays because they're kind of delicate. So what you want to do is just go in the direction of the stencil and get some color on there, just like so. And I'll show you the difference doing it this way. You just want to be gentle with it. You can see this way it's a little easier to shift the paper. And when you get around this mask, you just want to make sure you're getting in close. You want to get a nice crisp edge, like that. So this will take a few minutes. I don't think I have to show you the whole thing. Just like that. And when you peel this up, that's what it'll look like. And then I'm just going to cover this up. Then you'll carefully pick up the mask. I want to get my tweezers. Good pokey ones. I have stuff everywhere. There we go. You're going to pick this up. Okay, so you're going to have a nice circle shape there. Put that in my debris pile. Then you can pick this up. It's just got a piece of tape at the back. And let that ink dry just a little bit. We're going to put it into the MISTI for the stamping, which is the next step. Okay, so under here, so I've hidden my MISTI. Put my brush away, this away. Okay, so here's this. Just going to rub away that little bit of adhesive. Find the gift, which is this solid box here. And I stamped that one with squeezed lemonade. If you wanted to check your placement, you could put down acetate. And I just went for a bright, fun color. You could personalize these colors to your recipient if you had someone in mind. So there's that. And we're going to add the ribbon part. That is this stamp right here. Just try to line that up as well as you can. I stamped it in black. There you go. You're going to just lay on your foiled sentiment, which is right here. You could use pop dots if you wanted. It's going to go onto its black mat, which is also here somewhere. And you're going to assemble your card. And that will look like this. That's the first card. I wanted to tell you some more about these masking stencils. They're by Tailored Expressions. They have several shapes. There's square, oval, circle, rectangle, and heart so far, I think is what they have. They've been quite popular in the store, but we have more, I think, on order. And I've been having a lot of fun with them. If you do a search on them on Pinterest or on Google, you'll get lots of card ideas. And like I showed you, they're set so that you can get your card spaced nicely. And then they're even useful just for deciding where to put your thing that you're placing on a card. If you have your critters or your die cuts, it gives you kind of the landing spot, which is pleasing to the eye on your card. And for inking or just doing kind of a shading, it gives kind of an anchor to some of your critters again, or if you have a die cut word that just needs a little accent behind it, I think they're a great tool for your toolbox for card making. So something to think about there. We're going to move on to a very easy card, something that would be very nice to reproduce if you wanted to build up your stash. So this one, I broke out a die that I've had a while. I think it's from a set from Pink Fresh Studio. And it just cuts an angle on your cardstock. Let me find it. Here's the finished card. So it cuts an angle like this. You could do this just with your trimmer. This gives like a fine little dotted edge. You could use one of your hillside type borders for this too. It'd be super cute. And here we're using one of the dies from the matching die for our stamp. So the first thing I want to do, oh, and we use an embossing folder because we all have those and they're so cute. They always add a little something. Here we go. Here is this sort of flap shape. So we want to stamp our sentiment on there. And you know, I always like my Misty and I like to be in the corner. So to get it facing me, I'm going to put my flap up there. I'm going to use a happy birthday for this one. I'm going to kind of put it near the middle. This would also be really cute on the flap of an envelope too. You could put a sentiment on the outside of your envelopes. And now that everybody's inside, wouldn't this be a great time to send some cards actually out in the mail? we can all walk to the end of our street and pop it in our community mailbox. Then we just have to wash our hands when we come home. Because who else knows who's been touching the mailbox, right? Okay, so happy birthday to you. I'll just wipe that off using my stamp chamois. And I just keep it in this little ceramic bowl on my desk. And then I go and get it wet at the start of my stamping session. Okay, so there's my flap. And to stamp my gift, here's the window. And I'm going to try to save all those for you. I'm going to cut these kits tomorrow. That's my plan. I'm also supposed to figure out all my tax numbers. So, do you think I'll be doing the kits first? I bet I will. Shh, don't tell. Okay, so I have to find that little gift die cut. Here it is. Now I have my sticky grid in here, so this is going to pop in and stay nice and still. Here is the gift. Oh, and I just noticed I was probably supposed to be stamping these usually with the little lid part, but I've never bothered. You know what? This might be even easier to place in here first without the die cut in it. Because then you can kind of see. There we go. Now I could even do like a trial stamping. It's going to mess up my sticky grid a little bit, but I just kind of want to see if I'm going to land in there. I just put a little yellow ink on. Can't really tell, but I'm not seeing anything outside on the window part, so I think that should be good. And I picked the color Barn Door for these. I have a dark red. I think Candied Apple would probably work with this red cardstock too. There we go. So I could have come a little lower. But as you see here, once the ribbon part is stamped, it kind of takes the attention away from the actual gift color. But there is, I'll show you the stamp set, there is a solid part to be kind of a lid for this box. So here's the ribbon. Lay that on top. Try not to stick my head, you know, right down there in front of the camera. So normally I might get my nose right in there. I'm actually standing up while I do all this so that, well, there's a couple of reasons. My camera is up by my face, so you can probably hear me better when I stand up. And also, my craft room usually has two chairs, one over at this desk and one at my computer desk. But when your husband is working from home, it's nice if you offer him one of your really good office chairs, because most of them were bought by him because he's a nice guy. So he has one of my nice office chairs up in his home office now, which is also my photo studio, because nobody's going to be coming for photos when we're kind of in lockdown. So he's got his office going, and I've got my place down in the basement here. So I brought in kind of like a kitchen chair, but it's really low. I feel like I'm a little kid sitting at the table here. So standing is fine. I feel a little bit more in charge when I'm standing up. So that's how this card is going to go, just like that. Pretty cute. And if you wanted to add some little enamel dots or sequins or something, snazz it up, it would make it a little sparkly, but it would also kind of make it girly. So this way I thought it was kind of gender neutral. Okay, so there is another one of the cards. Already I've lost the first card. I think it's underneath all this. Okay, so the next one, it's been a while since we've done one on craft. So we'll do this. I think we'll do the stamping of the die cut first, since the little window is in here. And this is the cake. So there's a little more stamping to do. We'll start with the solid. So here's the cake plate. We're going to stamp it in picked raspberry. Just trying to get it straight. My window's kind of crooked, so I think it's going to be a little crooked, but we'll give her. That's not too bad. The nice thing now that you have the dies, if something's a little off kilter, you can always cut another die cut and try it again. And now the icing, I just did in black because that just looks sharp. Make sure I do it ink side down. There we go. I'm trying to match it up to my crooked cake. And again, I feel like quite high up from my stamping, but there we go. And then the candles. So I suspect with a crooked cake, I might have candles that don't reach all the way across, but that's why they invented fine tip black markers. So I'm not worried. So here are the candles, and I'm going to try to actually fit them onto their correct spots. I think that looks okay. Maybe. This again would probably be good if I popped out the die cut and nestled them into the hole. This is the other good thing about stamping the icing in black, is the bottom of the candles will just kind of blend in. And see, the gap there is pretty good. Not too bad at all. Just missing by a hair. And I have some squeezed lemonade out just for these tiny flames again. So this card has a little more stamping to it because we're going to stamp our background on craft. And I tried to come up with a way that we can move around the paper and not have to move the stamps around too much. So let's see if I can remember how I did that. So here's our die cut piece. This time I can peel the window away, and there's our embellishment. And that you can pop up on some pop dots. Okay, so I think what I did was I kind of put this into the middle. And if you give yourself an idea, I'm going to move this right up so you can see the whole thing. Give yourself an idea of where your cakes are going to be across this. Here's the card. Because you want to be able to move the... I'm using this outline of the cake stand this time, not the big filled in one. So if we start with this cake stand, then hopefully I can just move the paper to stamp the others. So hopefully I'm making some sense here. I'm going to stamp this, and then I'm going to move the paper down to stamp this one, and then move it up to stamp this one. And these get done first in black ink for this background. Okay, so there's one. Now I want to get the stamp up here. So if I know the stamp is going to stamp there, so my paper should go about there, and I can check it out with, you know what, acetate. For me, this is one of the best things about the MISTI. Okay, so if I leave the paper there, I'm going to have a little overlap here, and I'd prefer not to have overlap. So I know I just need to move my paper about 1/4 of an inch. Let's see if that's going to be enough. Just barely. I'm just going to move it another nudge. I feel kind of funny standing here talking to myself. Okay, I think that'll look good. I can wipe this off. Often I do talk to myself, but not usually quite this much. Oops. There we go. Oh. Okay, better ink this up again. Okay, there's that. Then I'm going to do it again to get this one. I want this just a little higher, and it can go off the edge. So I think maybe about there. Lay my acetate down again. Stamp it. So if that's going to be there, and my die cut cake can be about there. It's a little high, but I think I can live with that. So I can wipe this off. And stamp my cake. Okay. So then, I think we will do the sentiment that is time to celebrate. So now I can actually put this in a corner. I'll put it up here, make sure you can see it. I'm going to just tuck it in. Let's see if that's going to do the trick. Well, I think on this one, see, that's a little high. My spacing is not quite as good as it maybe was the first time, but this could even come down there. I'm not concerned about that. So maybe I'll put it right there. And I'll be able to tell with my grid. I thought it looked crooked, but it looks pretty straight with the lines. Okay. So now your choice is whether to use the MISTI for the pink frosting. I just did the lines. Or whether you want to do it with a block. Sometimes I feel like I can be brave and just do it with a block. And then sometimes I regret that decision. So maybe we'll come back in the middle again. And we'll just set this up for the pink. So when you're this far into it, why not? Just going to move it up a little bit. There we go. So this again is the picked raspberry, but with the opaque distress oxides, you could do pretty much whatever color you wanted. I don't know that the yellows would really show up very well, but any of the reds or pinks probably would. So here, I have this little mark on my sticky grid that I think is going to guide me. See if it's true. Not quite. I have to move the paper towards me. I can follow it like that. That's not bad. I'm going to move it just a little bit to my right. That's a whole bunch more moving than I was expecting to do. Okay. How's that look? Pretty good. Wipe this off. Okay, and one more. So here again, I think this will line up there. That looks pretty good. I'm going to go with it. Oh, a little bit off, but we're going to hide that actually with this a little bit. So there we go. So for this one, it's not quite done with the stamping. I'm just going to move it over a bit. I'm going to take this stamp off of here. I'm going to grab my confetti stamp. And I'm going to get a block. There we go. And I'm going to just place this here, saying that that's where it's going to end up. And I'm going to just stamp some confetti with an acrylic block. Because with confetti, I'm going to be brave. I like it to still sit in the Misty because it has that nice foam underneath. Turn the confetti. And one more down here. And there we go. So the cake, the pink cake here is going to get popped up. And this gets a black mat. Like so. And then it gets put on a white card base. So that's the third card, guys. So this month, the die is what you purchase with the class. The circle stencil that we used on the first card is also available if you would like to buy it this month. Otherwise, that is what we're going to be. That will be the purchase in May, and I will have cards made for us to do then. So we'll be talking to you soon. Take care.